The following is a story of a mother who is struggling with her son's recently claimed transgender identity, along with some of the responses. The link to the original post will be pinned in the description down below. Please, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.
I don't know how to phrase or ask this without coming across as a bigot, but I need advice. I cannot stress enough that if my daughter is truly trans, born male identifies female, then I support them in that, and I have been nothing but supportive up until this point. I am worried because the more we discuss things, the less confident I am that they're trans. What I do know is that she isn't happy. She's struggled with mental health in the past 5 years and has often been a loner. Within the last year, she's finally found herself a friend group that's lasted more than a few months at school, and they seem like genuinely good kids. They're the weird kids at the school, her words, but they have a little group. She's also found a group of friends online to game with that seem to be good people as well. Despite these two groups being good for her, she is still unhappy with herself. You can tell she does not feel like she fits in at school. About a month ago, things started feeling a bit off, and I could tell she, at this point still he/him, had something she wasn't sharing. After a day or so, she came to talk to me and expressed that she was talking about gender identity with her Discord friends and wanted to swap her pronouns to they, them. She said she had been thinking about stuff like this for the last couple years and had decided to make the swap. This wasn't shocking. There have been little clues over time that she may not be strictly male, and me and my partner had discussed it as a possibility. We talked, and I expressed support. We discussed what they wanted to do next, pronoun comfort, and a few other things. We spent about a week and a half with they/them before things started to feel off again. This time, I asked how things were, and she stated that she would like to swap from they/them to she/her pronouns. This conversation, she was visibly nervous. Not a problem. We discussed explaining this to her little brother, how to address things like this to the school when she was ready, and tried to calm her down. I don't remember every detail, but the topics of the conversation were how to let her be comfortable in this. A few days later, she comes to us with HRT research and talking as though this was something they wanted to do soon. We explained that things weren't that simple, and HRT is a process that takes time. We're in Maryland. This was received very poorly by her, and she became quite frantic. We talked about how HRT might be something she wants down the line, but it's not a magic fix and isn't something to rush. She, at several points in that conversation, said, "I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, and my decision paralysis is going to lock me up. I just have to decide and stick to it." We advised her to spend some time adjusting to she/her and identifying as female, and that she shouldn't pressure herself to magically know all the answers here. She seemed to understand that, but several things she said during the conversation set off my parent radar enough that I went and took a look at her Discord, a thing she knows I have access to. Her Discord community is largely non-binary individuals. They've been nothing but accepting of my daughter, and she's never expressed feeling othered. But now that she's changing her gender identity, she's been receiving praise and support and suggestions and excitement. I'm sure all of that's coming from a good place. These people are supporting their friend, but I'm becoming worried that that attention is skewing my daughter's choices. I think to some degree that's natural for a teenager, and if this was all that was happening, I would keep an eye and leave it. Who am I to say how she finds herself? If she tries on she/her and it fits her, fantastic. If she finds it doesn't and wants to go back to they/them or he/him, all good. But that's not the case for her friend group at school. They were supportive when she came out as gender fluid. Her swapping to her/her has them unsure of what to do. A few were supportive, a few were outright mean. But over the last week or so, my daughter swapped to she/her about 2 weeks ago. It's becoming clear that they'll likely lose this friend group. The message I was just shown by my daughter wasn't a cruel message. It was a message of, "We aren't sure how to be around you anymore. We're trying to figure it out and need some space." They haven't talked to her since and are distancing from her at school. I know this could be temporary. I also know it may not be. Again, If this is because they are truly trans, it sucks, but part of life is outgrowing friends. I'm terrified that it's not. And that brings me to the end of my ramble and to where I beg for any advice. I am terrified my daughter isn't trans and just wants to find herself the way a lot of teenagers do. I'm so scared she is losing her first stable real-life friend group to follow the attention she's receiving from her online friends. And I have no idea how to even begin broaching this with her. Is that even a good idea? Without doing more harm than good. How do I help her make the right decisions? I am so stuck.
This might be long. I'm a healthcare professional, and my academic work was in gender transition. I also ran a more or less off-the-books clinic, where I helped a couple dozen patients and give frequent online transition support. For legal reasons, I don't talk directly to people under 18, but am willing to talk to parents. You wrote that you're terrified. Having this type of emotion will impede communications and decision-making. While you reaching out to the subreddit to get information will help, you need to holistically deal with the emotions. This includes diet, exercise, and sleep. Meditation can help, and also talking with your own psychologist, if you have one. You should also talk to an experienced gender psychologist to sort out your own feelings. It's important to choose wisely. I would ask a local trans organization for a list of names. One thing that stuck out was that you were comfortable with your child being or expressing herself as non-binary, but not as trans. While you seem to think that this is because you think that she'd get more support from her in-person peer group, which has already gone from passive-aggressive to bye-bye, this is not the reason. As a mother of 9 children, I wouldn't be thinking, if my child just went back to non-binary, they'd get these fair-weather friends back. No. That's another reason to see the gender therapist. Not just to deal with your feelings about your child or to learn more about trans and non-binary people, but to unpack the reason why you're more comfortable with non-binary expression. There's a couple of possible reasons. It might take a couple sessions to help you figure it out. As far as friends and influence, while it can happen that a child changes themselves to fit into a peer group, for the most part, children find people who are like them, or at least similar. It's part of the reason that so many schools went counterintuitive and would pair gifted and learning disabled kids together in the 70s. Despite having very different IQs, there was a lot of similarities in the way we thought, and we were stronger together. One thing you might be missing in your thoughts about the peer influence is that your child is willing to lose her in-person friends in order to be herself. She's willing to be cast off from the only people that were friendly to her. Online support is a pale shadow of in-person support, especially for someone who is neurodivergent. I have a very close friend. I like to live in her city, 'cause in person, I feel like everything is okay if she's around. But online talking, I just miss her. Talking online doesn't help. In the last WPATH, they changed a lot of the recommendations with pediatric trans care and gave much stronger guidance for youth intervention and the use of puberty blockers. While there is a current misinformation campaign coming out of Moscow and Heritage, the use of these medicines is safe. There are medicines that can be given together with them to promote bone health. The purpose of blockers is to give the child time to think without the pressure of unwanted body changes coming. And that pressure, imagine that space aliens came down and they contaminated all of the water with a strong type of androgen that rapidly increased clitoral size. Not like the current testosterone therapy, which can enlarge it significantly, but not to a cis male size. But this contaminant could turn it to male-sized organ. The contamination meant that any newly made beverages would have the contaminant, but the old ones were safe. Would you feel very strong psychological pressure to hoard all the safe drinks that you could to avoid irreversible clitoral growth? I would hoard everything I could find and hope it was enough to get through the crisis, and also pressure the aliens to fix their mess. That is sort of how pediatric patients feel. They're about to have these irreversible changes, and they're terrified. Puberty blockers take that fear away so that they can work with a gender therapist without the stress and can much more easily figure themselves out and plan what they want. As others indicated, in your state there are clinics that can help. Talk to a trans organization to get recommendations. Wish you and your family the best.
I have a much younger trans child. I would adore any resources that might help them or help me support them better. They are in second grade, but have known they were born in the wrong body and lived as their authentic self since a couple of months before they entered first grade. There were signs years before this, such as asking if they could change their genitalia. Obviously, there is no need to medically transition at this time, and the social transition before first grade was effortless for them. Yay! But I would love to prepare for what is to come as my child ages. I have no doubt that they're trans as they weren't online or exposed to any peer pressure, and still aren't online facing peer pressure. And I am grateful that they haven't had to face bigotry. Yet. I do have some concerns about knowing their rights in the state of Pennsylvania in case they are faced with an issue. And then there are some common sense topics I'd love to figure out, such as handling sleepover parties when those start and swim classes provided by the school district. We're currently in a very LGBTQIA+ accepting area school district, and I am so grateful for this. But we may have to relocate due to financial hardship and may wind up in a less liberal, progressive area. Thank you so very much for your thoughtful and insightful post here. I've actually been thinking about androgen blockers, even though we're some years away from that possibility. But I was worried about certain side effects such as bone growth and density, as I've taken GnRH agonists myself for endometriosis and had a very difficult time while on them, and the estrogen feedback therapy along with it. TIA for any additional information, and be well.
Trans people most often become depressed when they can't transition. My experiences growing up sound exactly like your daughter, except I suffered for over 20 years not knowing what was wrong with me and in the closet, just to transition anyways. It was like torture, and it feels like I was not truly alive. I wanted to die. I'm surprised I didn't. Not everything has been easy, and not everyone likes trans people, but transitioning saved me. HRT is life-saving treatment. I wish I had the knowledge of this at age 14. It would have saved me decades of torment and given me decades of joy being able to live as myself. I also wish I had parents that gave a shit about me. If your daughter is saying she's trans, she almost certainly is, and she's probably suffering too. Believe what she tells you. These thoughts don't just go away when you stuff them in the closet. Testosterone is going to start to make her feel physically deformed and make her life much harder. If it isn't right for her, she can detransition. But the overwhelming majority do not.
Came to say something similar. Except for me, I was 36 before I finally got the treatment I needed. School was such a horrible time. You're trying to figure yourself and the world out while everyone's trying to tell you who you should be, and then stupid homework on top of that. My parents had what seemed to me a superficial interest in my life, and I had no reason to believe they could help me anyway because I didn't think anyone could help me. Eventually, I got written off as a sad child in a sad house. My whole family had depression. I was praised for being thoughtful and an old soul. But fuck that, I was just miserable. And I was withdrawing from a world that seemed to offer me nothing. If I had known what being trans was and what HRT could do, I would have jumped on it at any age. I have every reason to believe that it would have improved my life.
If you assume that your child is trans and is living through a moment where so much of the world is vocally against her existence, and she has to be sure that she can withstand that kind of pressure on top of all the other pressures that teenagers are under, then I think it's understandable that just tossing her a couple of pronouns wouldn't be enough to make her feel okay. It would be in the best interest of your child's success in life if you would get her on the path to therapy and puberty blockers.
This sounds like pretty much the ideal case for puberty blockers. Give your kid time to sort her feelings out and any social stressors to blow over without any internal progression she might not want down the line. That said, it also kinda sounds like she felt you guys were tacitly resisting her desire and started freaking out a bit, so it might be worth passively redressing the conversation you had with her and just let her talk things through without interruption. There are a lot of informed consent clinics in and around your area. While not all of them will have experience treating trans minors and/or providing puberty blockers, they do exist as a pretty expeditious process for accessing transition care.
Yep, puberty blockers are the answer. Here, gives the needed time to figure it out more for sure. Then, if she wants to start HRT later, I think 16 is when you can in most places, she can. If she decides not to, it's just a bit of a late puberty. Nothing that can be done, legally, at the current point, is irreversible, except for continuing with male puberty.
Not making a decision is something so many people fail to recognize with trans youth. They seem to think that doing nothing is the neutral option and going on HRT is the extreme, must be certain about thing, but doing nothing is exactly as big a decision because it's literally forcing the kid onto hormones that might not be right for them. Puberty blockers are literally the perfect option for this. But so many parents act like there's some huge, drastic, irreversible, damaging decision.
Consider that waiting is not a neutral decision. In a way, it is a decision for a transition on its own. If you don't let her go on estrogen, she will be forced on testosterone and left with permanent changes to her body she might despise, that leave her damaged for life. There is no neutral option here, just a choice between one direction or another. And your daughter is still early enough that she has the chance to become happy.
This is the point. They know what they're doing. It is deliberate. They are aware that puberty is permanent. It is a silent and socially acceptable way to disfigure us. A trans adult has to maintain their endocrine system every day. A parent of a trans kid only has to chemically mutilate them once.
Just a reminder, this video simply voices over the Reddit post and some of the responses and is not meant to be used as medical advice. If you believe you have been harmed by medical transition or want to help those who have been harmed, you can check out some links in the description of this channel. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up are some of the music I made recently. Links will be in the pinned comment. I hope you like it.
You got the keys to my lock. You touch the sky, I'll teach you how to fly. You got the keys to my lock. There's no need to knock. Just climb on my dock. You got the keys to my lock. There's no need to knock. Just climb on my dock. You got the keys to my lock. From above, in the dark we found the love. Keep it strong, don't let it go. Trust the rhythm, let things flow. You got the keys to my lock. There's no need to knock. Just climb on my dock. You got the keys to my lock. There's no need to knock. Just climb on my dock. You got the keys to my lock. Together we are one. I want you forever by my side. Let's soak every feeling on this wonderful ride. You got the keys to my lock. You got the keys to my rock. There's no need to knock. Just climb on my dock. You got the keys to my lock. There's no need to